Hello everyone and welcome to episode 18 of the Mind, Body, Soul Transformation podcast. I am just back from my light language retreat which happened over the weekend, arrived Thursday afternoon and finished up yesterday, Sunday afternoon or middle of the day. A beautiful 3.5 days with some amazing people. And I thought I wanted to jump on and share a bit about what surfaced for me personally over those 3.5 days. Now, I went into this retreat as a knowing. I saw the ad for it, I don't even know how many weeks ago, maybe about 6 weeks ago, maybe a bit less. And at that stage, my light language was only just coming in hand movements. I hadn't had anything verbal coming through or any other forms at that point in time. And I'd been just guided by my Reiki master and teacher, the beautiful Brenna, that the movements that were coming through were probably light language. And I was looking for that something to do as my next piece of this puzzle on this path to allow me to give back to this world and share some of this magic that is coming in for me with other people to help them on their own paths. And I was looking at breathwork courses and so on and so forth. And then, as I said, this ad popped up on Instagram for me and I just knew I needed to be there. And I'm so glad I followed that guidance. And this was my first retreat I've ever done. And for those of you that have not done a retreat, the first thing I'm going to say here is please go find one that aligns with you and what you're looking for. It does not have to be a light language retreat or anything spiritual. There are so many forms of retreat out there, but just at the very basics of this retreat, one of the things I so thoroughly appreciated and enjoyed, particularly I think in this phase of my life as a mum, is the opportunity to just have that time to give to myself, but not even just give to myself, to receive, to be surrounded by people that all cared about you, but also like the very simple of things of not having to worry about breakfast, lunch or dinner and having those beautifully prepared and offered to you and beautiful communication happening, having time to just follow your own guidance around what you wanted to do and not feel like you had to do X, Y, or Z in the time that you had. That in alone was so powerful and so needed for my soul. And then everything else that took place was just pure magic on top. So what I would like to do today is get really vulnerable, actually. I'm going to share some bits of the journaling that I have done over the time that I was on this light language retreat to just share some of the things that have come up for me in the hope that some of this might help you on your own journey as well. And there was a whole heap of things that did surface for me that were all very unexpected. I went into this retreat really not appreciating all that was going to take place for me, all the healing that was going to happen. Really, when I signed up for this retreat, I thought this was all about my light language and about focusing on better understanding what that is, better understanding how to use it, and bringing more of that online for me. And that all did happen. But actually, when I look back at all the magic that did happen, 222 on the time, which has been my number since leaving the retreat yesterday, repeatedly, all that did happen, that was actually just such a small piece of it. And I know a bunch of everything else at surface is going to integrate and bring more of that light language magic and other magic online for me. I just know that. The other thing I knew coming into this, even though I didn't know what that was going to look like, is that this retreat was going to change my life. And that sounds like a really big statement, but it did, it has, and it will. I can see so clearly that I've walked out the other side of this retreat as a completely different person to the person that walked in. And I'm so ready for the adventures that come out of this next chapter, this next version of me, this new path, whatever we want to call it. I am beyond grateful for Abby and for every other person that was part of this retreat. The thing that, I'm getting chills and thinking about this, the thing that always blows my mind since starting these kind of things, and my Reiki training was a beautiful example of this, is how divinely guided groups like this are to be together in these containers. A group of 10 people, and just every single one of them served a purpose for each of us. We all had a purpose and something to mirror to each other, something to offer to each other that was needed for our own journeys through the 3.5 days and for the collective journey. And that's hard to put into words, the magic that creates, but also just how special that is how this universe works. It brings the people together that need to be together in that context to transform what needs to be transformed in their life. And there were some, I get emotional just thinking about this, there were some truly transformative moments, I think, for every single one of us. I cannot think of one of us that didn't have like a moment where we were cracked open or something new emerge from within us in some way that needed to happen to push us out the other side of this retreat into our new lives. I'm going to read something in here from my day one where I mentioned that this felt like a portal, and that word came up in a few different ways over the weekend. And now that I sit here talking about it, it is so clear to me that it was a portal. We all walked into this portal together and transformed our lives. And I will be forever grateful to each one of those souls. And I'm so glad that I am connected with these people now on this journey ahead. So day one, before we'd even started, I arrived. My room was beautiful, huge, biggest room I think I've ever stayed in, overlooking these beautiful rolling hills, which for those of you that follow me on Instagram will see that I painted. It's up here now in my room because it had to be here with me. Just stunning. The property was stunning. It was up near Gympie, this beautiful area full of farmland and green rolling hills. Anyway, we had about, I can't remember, an hour or so after I arrived before we were going to get started with our first coming together, meeting each other. And I took some time just there to just sit and be and think about why I was there and what was about to unfold. And I want to read some words to you out of my journal around this. And it says, as I sit here overlooking the rolling green hills, I am filled with a mixture of peace and excitement. The peace and contentment that comes from knowing you are on the right path and exactly where you are meant to be. I can feel this weekend is going to open a lot in me and also bring up a lot for me to look at, to heal, and to alchemize. New magic unlocked as I step through this portal to emerge the other side as someone new. My intention is to lean in, to trust, and to let the light and the magic move through and transform me. And so it begins. There is another comment here about just the importance of following your intuition, following those nudges. They're trying to put you into these situations for a reason, because you're meant to be there to make something happen, transform in your life. So I know I bang on and on about that message and the importance of following your intuition, but these kind of experiences just reinforce how important that is for us to be doing. One of the first things we did once we arrived is we sat in circle and just spent some time connecting with ourselves, acknowledging that this was the first moment, because we had been in silence up until that point, but this was the first moment we were going to start connecting with each other, and that was going to shift and open the circle and open our connections, and that was all going to be amazing. But this was our last opportunity to be with our own energy. And so we did that, and then once we were finished that part of the activity, what we actually did was stand and connect with each other eye to eye, not saying a word, just looking into each other's eyes for I don't know how long. And this is something that makes me feel so vulnerable. And the very first person, and I've spoken to them about this, so I'm happy to share, the very first person that I was connected with in that way was the only male in the group. And he had actually arrived at a similar time to me and had offered to carry my suitcase down, which I very quickly and firmly responded no, that I didn't need that. I knew in that moment that that was something I was going to need to look at this weekend, is why I was resisting help at all. But in particular, what it is about the masculine energy that surfaces these things for me that is holding me back from connecting healthily with masculine energy, both within myself but also within others. I might just read out of my journal for this part. What I said is, when we did an activity where we connected by staring into each other's eyes, no communication, this brought up a lot in me. Vulnerability, being seen, both in a good way and the worry about what they could see. Looking into some eyes felt so comforting, others felt peaceful, and some uneasy. One of my biggest lessons out of this was when I was connecting with the only man on this retreat. I felt less safe. I do not feel that this is a reflection of this individual, but more a wounding around safety from masculine energies. Making me emotional just reading this. I have work to do here, to go deeper here and see and surface what is at the root of this, so I can heal this and allow me to connect more deeply, vulnerably and authentically with masculine energy. At first, I can see some of this is rooted in my childhood, and that has been further compounded by masculine energies across all aspects of my life and my environment. These include physical safety, emotional safety, abandonment, gaslighting, and not having my thoughts, ideas, emotions, and needs held, validated, and supported. I can start to heal these things in me by providing these things for myself: safety, security, support, sovereignty. Once I feel I am ready, I can then open up to let others hold me in these ways too, knowing that if they should not be able to hold me in these ways, that I have got myself, and no harm can be done to me by others without me handing my power over to allow them to do that harm. So as I mentioned, I actually discussed this with this individual on the last day when we had another beautiful opportunity to connect our energies together and thank and love on each other for all that they had offered us during those 3.5 days, and share with them the things that were most important to share with them. And part of my sharing with this person was to thank them for surfacing this within me so that I could realize that I still have healing to do around letting masculine energy into my life, truly, vulnerably trusting that that is a safe thing to do for me, and seeing such a beautiful example of true divine masculine energy, someone that is so connected with the beautiful parts of masculine energy, the divine parts of masculine energy, the healthy parts of masculine energy, turn up to something like this, a retreat with 9 other women, someone doing their own work, working through their own stuff, and so beautifully support what was a really powerful bunch of beautiful feminine energy, was healing to me to just be in that presence and to see what is possible. As I say that, I can actually have this feeling that there is about to be this shift for a lot of the masculines in the world into this space, and that fills me with excitement. And it's going to help me and others like me who really struggle to let down our walls, to let down our guards, to trust masculine energies, to start to see more of that around us, to allow us to heal those parts of ourselves. But that work has to start within us first. And so I am so grateful for this individual, for their beautiful energy, for them seeing that in me too, and not being offended, not being upset, not judging me, just recognizing that I was struggling without me needing to say that, and giving me the space and support that I needed to work through that so that I didn't have that feeling derail the experience of the retreat. I am beyond grateful. Emotional already. There's so much of this that came up for me. We also, on day 2, had a beautiful light language activation from Abby and Brooke with some beautiful sound healing, toning and direct activation from Abby, and the energy in that room was no words, just power, pure, beautiful light and power. And it was so beautiful to not just be in the receiving of that myself, but to feel that energy around our circle, to feel that transformation happening around our circle, to hear things opening for people around the circle, and those that were already tapped into that, just expressing so beautifully, so freely their light language, their codes, that was feeding into the whole dynamic of the group and the room. I say this all the time, but there are experiences that are like that I will remember forever because of just the magic of those moments. After that, I went outside and sat by our beautiful earth altar that we'd put together that morning. I shared a video on my Instagram stories, and I'm actually going to pop it up as a reel because stunning, beautiful thing to do, and I'm actually really excited to do that with my daughter this weekend on our holiday. But as I was laying there, what I was reflecting on, because this was now middle of the day and there was flowers and stuff on the altar, so that was all starting to wilt, and so something that had started so beautifully had started to fade in its beauty and its sparkle. And to me, that was just a reminder of those things in life that are beautiful or do come into your life for a purpose and have a beautiful purpose and a moment in time, but that not everything is forever. There is an impermanence to everything, and how we can acknowledge that and recognize that and not try to grip onto things that we thought were going to last forever that don't. And there was a whole lot of stuff that came up for me around that, and around how I need to, or we need to, release these things when they're no longer serving their purpose or adding beauty and wholeness to our lives, and not let our ego or our connection to how things should be hold us back or draw us back into something that actually isn't grounded and aligned with the path that we're meant to be walking, or with our heart and soul's true needs, desires, any of that. That we must connect with our heart on this journey, all aspects of this journey, and that will guide us on our way to make sure we're staying on the right path. In the afternoon, after lunch, we did some channeling, which was really nice to tap into in like a really structured way. And that was a helpful tool for me to have, because I have had channeled messages come in previously. I've shared one on YouTube before. This was written channeling, which I knew was an easier way for me to channel. And actually at the end of this podcast, I'm going to share with you a channeled message from my inner child. But in this session, we channeled the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, and then we picked a card with some form of light being. And my card was a 44 card. For those of you that have been listening to the podcast know that that's a number that just keeps coming up for me. And it was also an angel card. And I got told recently, I can't remember if I've shared this on the podcast, that I have a new angel guide, and that she was really wanting to connect with me. And I've been trying to connect with her and just really struggling. And it turns out that in writing is the way that I'm meant to be doing that. I channeled the angels, the Arcturians and Pleiadians, and they all came through with beautiful personal messages and collective messages of light and love, but especially support, hope and encouragement. And the Pleiadian message was a bit more collective level, so I might just read that to you all, as it might resonate with some of you. They said, "We come here with a message of hope and support for all of mankind at this time. We honour the work you are doing and wish to remind you of its contribution to the greater shift that is taking place. This shift is one of great importance and has been long planned. The time is now. There is more work to be done. You must all do your part to share your gifts, your learnings, and your messages. The great awakening is upon you. We invite you to lean into this time, this momentum, and this moment. You have much to offer. This is what you came here for. Manage your energy and where you are putting it. this will be very important at this time. So sharing that with you in the hope that for those of you that needed to receive that message, that was able to land where it needed to and help you, to remind you that the time is now. We're out of time. That was clear in a lot of people's downloads or channels. Not out of time, but we have to act. We can't delay sharing all that we need to be sharing. That has to happen now. We then channeled some written love language. Interesting. I was going to say light language. Which I found a lot harder with the pen than I did last weekend when I used the paintbrush, and that flowed a lot more easily for me. So I was getting in my head. But all of these activities were just a reminder to me that these channels are always open and accessible. You don't have to be however many years experienced or someone special. You can connect and tap into these channels and to this energy at any time with the right intention. And that's an important reminder, because I often will get in my head to think, oh, I can't do that, or I'm making this up, or whatever it might be. And it was so nice to have that reinforced to me over the weekend, that actually, no, this is possible for all of us. And what I am doing is real, is legitimate, is not just my brain making crazy stuff up. Through the whole weekend, and I can see how beautifully intentional this was on Abby's part, we did a number of activities to pull us out of our comfort zone, I guess, and really help with our just authentic expression. And this wasn't just in light language. In fact, it was very rarely around light language. It was much more, how can we turn up in a fun, joyful, playful, expressive way? And I'm going to talk through a few of these experiences shortly. But what came up in every single one of these was that inner resistance of mine to just letting go and just letting the true essence of me show. And how much I really just wanted to be able to break down those walls that I've put up to keep me protected, and just actually start moving and sharing from my heart in group settings. And I think about this podcast, and I think about my Instagram and how much I put out in these places, but it's because I am by myself and don't have to read your facial expressions or anything else, or have you say anything to my face necessarily, that I can confidently do this. But then when I'm put in that group setting, those walls are just so strong and they just hold me back from so much. And I recognized and realized over the weekend how much they've held me back from enjoying my life. And as I've already said, I've got a letter to my inner child and a channeled message back from my inner child that I'm going to share in this podcast that's come out of that. I just had to let her out. I had to let the true me out and trust that that's safe to do. And just as I've had to do with this podcast and with Instagram and this transition in my life behind a computer screen, I need to do it in person and be willing to risk the same things that I was willing to risk by putting this out there. And so the first time that's came through in a really strong way for me, very, very emotional way, was on day 3. And we started day 3 with a beautiful cacao ceremony. And then we did something that I've actually always wanted to do, but just haven't. And I certainly didn't realize how powerful it was going to be for me. And that is one of those silent discos. So where you all have your own headset and music playing through that, and you're just there dancing in your own zone. And we did this outside, barefoot on the grass, connecting with the earth and all the beauty that surrounded us at this retreat. And I love dancing. And usually that is in the privacy of my own home, not even around my daughter, like where I can really just let go and enjoy it, or have many drinks down in a nightclub, which it's been a while for that. So I haven't been expressing myself in that way for quite some time. And to do this and enjoy it and just let it flow and let the joy come out and just soak in the sunshine and the light and just let that part of me just out. I was overcome with this feeling of connection with my inner child, of playfulness, of fun, of joy, and also of realization of, as I've already said, how much I've kept that part of me hidden, blocked, caged away to protect myself from being judged, from being abandoned, and how I don't want that for myself anymore. And I want that little version of me, that inner child version of me, to come out, to show me the way, to show me how we can enjoy our life more. And I might read a bit from my journal around this, and then I will share my letter to my inner child, because those things really beautifully connect together. The joy I felt just allowing my body to move with complete vulnerability and freedom is something I've never felt before and have been longing for. A remembering of who I am if I just let the mask fall. This was the most healing experience I have ever had, particularly for my inner child. I am overcome with gratitude to be where I am, connecting with my truth, the universal truth, and to be connecting with others who see and hold me where I am. I sat grieving for little Donna, who didn't know how loved she was, how safe she was just to be her, and who held herself back from the joy she deserved to experience. The Donna who grew into a woman who hustled to make others proud, who felt she had always had to be a certain way to be loved, to be seen, to be taken seriously. The Donna who completely lost herself in the quest to be seen and loved by others, who warded off her heart, who suppressed that inner child, screaming to let it out, who has missed so much magic in this world by having her eyes closed. I know I must integrate this healing, not just for me, but for my daughter. I must cultivate our lives to embody all of these parts of me that I am remembering, so that she can feel seen, loved, and held to be and express her most authentic self, so she can live her most joy and love-filled life, knowing that she is safe to do so for the rest of eternity. So there were a bunch of other little things that we did over the retreat that I might share in time, including karaoke on the last night, which again, walled off ego version of Donna was terrified of, even though I love music, love dancing, love singing. Not a great singer, but just love expressing myself in that way, in the comforts of my own home and privacy. But overanalyzed song choice, overanalyzed every aspect of everything, as happens when that part of me gets triggered and fear is surfacing for me. But once I was there with the microphone in my hand and just singing, I actually was able to just let go and enjoy. And again, so grateful for the group of people that were around me that helped me do that. So out of all of that, as I sat to prepare for today's podcast recording, and I was just thinking, how do I want to share this? What do I want to come through? I used my oracle cards, as I do often, to guide me in what I'm going to podcast on. And I kept seeing the card, go on an adventure. Today's the day to try something daring, which is from my inner child deck, because I knew it had to be inner child focused. And then I got two separate cards. The first one is write a letter. Write a letter to your inner child. The double rainbow keeps drawing my eye on this too, just in case that resonates with any of you. And then the other card was listen. Your inner child has something to say. And so what I would like to share next, to probably wrap up this podcast episode, sharing all of the inner transformation that happened on the retreat, and I'll share all of the just magic and beauty as well somewhere else, probably in an Instagram post, is to share these letters. This letter to my inner child, to little Donna, and then I tapped in and tuned into her and channeled out in writing what she wanted to say back to me. And this is very vulnerable of me to share, but I'm following the guidance. I'm following my knowing that this is going to help somebody in their own journey, which is exactly why I do this podcast. And so, yeah, thank you for receiving this, what I'm about to share, and letting me be vulnerable and safe in such a huge forum. All right. Dear little Donna, I am home from a retreat over the weekend, our first retreat, something I have resisted for so long, for reasons that will become apparent in this letter. During this retreat, I had moments of really connecting with you and joyfully letting you out of the cage to be seen, heard, and received for the beautiful soul you are by me and by others. We danced, we sung, we cried, we loved, we moved, we expressed, and most importantly, we worked to overcome that ego and fear that has held us back for so long. I wanted to write you this letter today to share my apologies for the 38 years that I kept you locked up, thinking that was the only way that we could be safe or loved. Thinking we couldn't be our true selves, or more people would leave us or abandon us. I'm sorry that it took 38 years to realize that the only way to call in people that will see, love, and honor us for our true inner beauty and essence is to let that shine. To love ourselves and all of our facets enough to know that we, as we truly are worthy of love, and that our love of ourselves is our power. It will hold us strong as people and things fall away, the things that are not in alignment or do not love and value us in the way that we deserve. I write this letter as a vow to you that you are now free. I will no longer hide you away. I will cultivate ways to let you play, sing, dance, and express yourself and all of your beauty. We will show our beautiful daughter the way. I have work to do on this, and I will not get this right all the time, but I will recognize this and I'll come back to this intention whenever I need to. You are beautiful. You are kind, caring, and humble, and you are exactly what the world needs. You are fun, creative, spiritual, and magical. You are this and more, ever evolving and growing. I cannot wait to share the rest of this journey with you and to let you lead and for us to heal together. Thank you for sticking by my side and for not breaking down the walls before I was ready. Let's create the most beautiful, love and joy-filled life that is bigger than we could have ever imagined. I love you. I love you enough for anyone else's love to be just a bonus. Love your older but much less wiser self, Donna. And then, as I said, I took the guidance from this card of listen. Your inner child has something to say, and channeled her. All right. Dear older Donna, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for setting me free. I know what a huge step this was for you and all that surfaced for you. Thank you for not responding to that pain and sadness by pushing me back down. Thank you for leaning in. I have so much I want to say to you, but for now, let's start with the most important thing. I forgive you. Our life has been hard, and I know when I say that, the first thing that comes to your mind is all of the others walking this planet that have had it tougher. But this is a time where we can hold space for both. We can acknowledge our pain, our hurt, our sadness, and all the things that we longed for that we didn't get, and that doesn't take away from anyone else's experience. We can also acknowledge that all of this was part of our journey and led us to where we are, and be grateful for that, whilst also still holding space to feel the feelings and move through them. We must do this. On this new path of yours, I've been so proud of how you have leaned into the things that scare you, leaning into expressing your truth whilst risking rejection and judgment. But as you have found over the weekend, this doesn't mean that you have healed. You must still sit with all that underlies these fears and move through them, understand them deeply, acknowledge the impact of them on your whole life, and release them. Only then can we really move forward and truly live our most aligned and beautiful life. Our next chapter starts now. I'm so excited to lead you in joy and playfulness. Please surrender and trust that I have got you. Magic will happen. Your magic will open even more, and you will see magic all around you. You are so supported right now. You may not always feel this, but you must trust. It is because of you and your braveness that we are on this path, the path our soul chose, the path where we have a huge job to do, one we could have never imagined. This is what we came here for. But to do this, we must balance both parts of ourselves. I love you, Donna. I'm so proud of who we have grown up to be despite all that life has thrown at us. You are a beautiful person with a beautiful heart, and I could not be prouder to be walking this path with you. Love, little Donna. That was such a powerful exercise for me to do. And I believe I'm sharing that with you because for some of you, you also need to connect with that inner child of yourself. To write her a letter or him a letter, them a letter. And maybe to receive the messages back from them that you need to receive to really allow that next level of healing to take place for you. To allow you to propel yourself forward onto a new path that is more beautiful than you could ever imagine. And that is connected with those parts of you that you have suppressed for so long because of what society or people in your life have told you that you needed to be. It's time to release all of that and turn up as our beautiful, authentic selves. And there is no one more beautiful and authentic and pure than the inner child within us. No one. So let's honor them. Let's honor their beauty, their purity, their zest for life. And give them the space to move us and lead us through this life. And let that ripple out around us. I'm going to wrap up there, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into another podcast episode. I cannot believe we're at 18 episodes already. Sending you loads of love. May that help you in you navigating the week ahead and any healing that might surface for you during this time. Goodbye, beautiful souls.